This is New World Aeternum. New World Aeternum is an action-based MMORPG that's set in the medieval era. It has plenty of PvE and PvP content, such as raids, dungeons, arena maps, wars, and other bigger PvP maps. This game offers a plethora of solo content as well as quite a bit of group content as well, where you only really have to group in this game near the end game. Now, if that interests you, make sure to stick around because I'm going to be going into more detail about all this stuff. Now, once you first load into New World, you're going to be faced with a decision of your archetype. Now, this is not like classes like in other MMOs. These basically just come with trade skills that are boosted, so make sure you're picking based on your trade skills, since you're able in this game to pair any weapon you want together. Yes, that means if I want to pair, let's say, this guy's bow, I could also pair it with this guy's fire staff right here. Since every weapon in this game can be paired with any other weapon, your starting class doesn't really matter here. It's just generally for your trade skills, so do keep that in mind. Once you end up selecting that, you are then brought to the character creator. The character creator in New World is nothing special. It's just kind of okay. It's like mid, it's like 5 out of 10. Nothing too great, but you can definitely get a decent looking fellow if you put in enough time. Now, once you do select your character, you're sadly not able to change this later on. So make sure you're 100% locked in what you want to do. Now, once you are done creating your character, you're going to be brought into this beautiful world called Aeternum. Now, Aeternum is very single player friendly, as you're able to basically hit all the way up to max level 65 without having to do any cooperation with any other player. Along the way, the game has voice acting basically with every NPC.
I don't know about you, but I could use a hot bath.
Good cutscenes describing the story.
The gods summoned us from the old world.
The cutscenes and the cinematic in this game I feel like are really good, along with the lighting and the graphics. They're probably my favorite out of any MMO on the market, even higher than BDO in my opinion. I absolutely love the way New World looks, the art style, the music, everything is just absolute cinema to me. Like, just listen to this music, man, it's mwah! The world of Aeternum is split up into 3 factions: the Syndicate, the Covenant, and the Marauders. The Marauders are these barbarian warriors that feel like power and strength is everything, along with the Covenant, who are basically like the religion of the game, where they believe the power in Aeternum deserves to be worshipped like some sort of cult or religion. And then the Syndicate, which derive knowledge is power. Once you pick your faction, you'll be able to change it after 30 days. You can also only change your faction if your faction does not own the most territory. So as you can see here on the map, the green owns the most territory, so you would not be able to change into green if you were yellow or purple. Now, in terms of combat, the combat in New World always felt really good to me. Combat, it's always a hit or miss. I feel like for a lot of players, it's not like stock standard where you can say
from player.
Every player. New World has that action, fast-paced feeling where it rewards fast decision making and good dodging, good execution of timing and abilities. Since you only have 6 abilities, yes, only 6 with 1 ultimate. Your ultimate's not super impactful like maybe in other MMOs such as ESO with certain ults. In this game, your ult's generally just like a cleanse or just it's another spell that does damage, so they're not super impactful, basically like a 7th spell. On top of that, once again, you are able to put any weapon combination together. So that is if I want to run a Spear Greatsword, which is one of my favorite weapon combos in the game, highly recommend trying that. I can also run something like Greatsword and Musket, since Greatsword and Musket both scale off dexterity here. I can put all my points into dexterity and I can run like a build like Greatsword and Musket. Now there is some limitations, like if I have a Fire Staff here, it's only intelligence, and Greatsword doesn't scale off intelligence whatsoever, so I won't be able to really pair that together. But technically any weapon in the entire game can be paired together, and a lot of weapons do share scaling. As you can see here, I'll tell you which weapons scale off which is very useful when you're first getting into the game. So very new player friendly. So there's a lot of build combinations, build diversity you can create along the way. Now there definitely is some metas at the end game part of New World, so you will have to be min-maxing at that point. But for the leveling process and even like the mid to late game, you can generally just do whatever you want and it will be fine. It only starts to come into an importance when you hit the late game, such as raiding. Now New World is fit into 3 different role types. You have the medium role, which is demonstrated right here as a little hop. we can take off some of my gear here. And then you have the light roll, which is a longer kind of like Dark Soul-esque roll here. It's more for the assassin, fast-paced type of game style. Or you have the heavy roll, which is just a little which basically is useless, just to dodge some more key abilities. Your roll is dictated by your equipment load here. As you can see, heavy, medium, and light. Light is more assassin, high damage. Medium is the best of both worlds, good tankiness, good damage. Where heavy primarily focuses on defense. Each type of armor weights will definitely impact your playstyle, such as DPS, healer, and tank, or bruiser, depending on which type of style of gameplay you are looking for. Overall, I think the armor rolls feel really good, and it adds another layer of complexity to the game, because each roll can definitely impact on builds and playstyles, which I think is a nice added bonus to the game, adding more. Now, if you are wondering how long does it take to get max level in this game, it's only relatively about 20 hours from 1 to 65 if you purely follow the main story quest. Now, along the way on the main story quest, you can definitely do all the side quests, the gathering, and the crafting. So if you're wondering, the crafting and the gathering, in my opinion, is done better than any other MMO I personally ever played or seen. I think they do a phenomenal job with the gathering in this game. It makes the world feel so alive. The fact that you're able to run around and gather any tree or any rock that you see, basically making the world feel super interactable and help bringing it to life. That in combination with the music and the sound design behind these two things really elevates the world, in my opinion, to a higher level. So now let's talk about the crafting aspect of New World. You can't craft all your gear. There's certain gear in the game like artifacts that can only be farmed. Also, if you want to hit the max gear score, you can't craft that. The max gear score being 725, the highest crafting gear score can go to 700. But with that in mind, crafting does have a lot of impact because you can get basically best slot gear by crafting, which is insanely valuable. It just won't be max gear score. Crafting does also have stuff in the early game. You can craft stuff in tier 2, which is the stuff you can get at the start of the gear. So if you want to craft some early on gear, this is a pretty useful way to do so, since there is loot bias in the game. And what loot bias basically means is that if I'm wearing a heavy helmet, I'm more likely to get more heavy helmets if I keep playing that from dropping. So crafting the correct equipment load early on, or the certain weapons that you want to be picking up as you continue to level, can be very useful just by leveling up your crafting to a certain level and coming into either your forge or your armory and leveling that up. Now there is a bunch of different crafting skills you can do, such as weaponsmithing, armoring, engineering, jewelry crafting, arcana, cooking, and furnishing. You can once again do this on all the same characters, so if you want to be a master crafter, you are able to do so on just one character by leveling this all the way up. Crafting feels very rewarding and very unique. It is a bit of a gamba sometimes, but you can spend like 50,000-70,000 gold to make sure you guarantee your crafts. So right now 140,000. So if I want to craft one piece of gear that was guaranteed, it would probably cost me about half my current gold stash. But each type of crafting has its own uniqueness and its own usefulness that it brings to the table. Cooking is very important for buffs. Weaponsmithing is very important, for weapons. Armoring is very important to armoring. If you want to make good money in the game, generally going one of the artisan routes, such as crafting, is a very solid option. Next up, let's talk about the dungeons. So there's quite a few dungeons in New World. They're placed all around the map, scattered. And I feel like the dungeons in New World are all very relatively different. They don't feel like they're copy and paste, except for one, but that has its own explanation. But the dungeons all generally feel unique. They feel beautiful. The music along with the dungeons feel amazing. Now you do need to group up for these. These are a 5-man dungeon, so you'll need 3 DPS healers and 1 tank to do these. But I think they're highly worth doing so. They're very fun, especially for your first like 20 runs. Lots of stuff to discover. If you are good enough, you can solo these dungeons, believe it or not, if you have the correct gear and whatnot. So if you want to go for that, you can definitely do that as well. New World also has seasonal events along with some open world boss fights, such as like a scorpion right here that spawns on the map that drops an artifact. So you have to make sure you have to fight him only at night, which is pretty cool, having night and daytime rewards. You also have a seasonal event such as this winter event that we are currently in here. What you can do is you can come to my big friend the Yeti, and you'll have like your own seasonal shop here where you can buy furnitures, weapons, more furnitures, skins, emotes, tents, stuff that costs us big money in the game, such as chromatic seals and Azoth inductors. So these events can be quite rewarding and they're quite fun. The way you would get all this stuff is by killing these yetis across the map, the Forever Winters. You can see they spawn in multiple different zones. Now, New World also has these events for generally each season, such as the winter event that we are right now, the October event, which is generally the Halloween event, the Turkey Lawn, which is the Thanksgiving event, and then they will also have the spring event and a summer event, trying to give something for each part of the year. The events are all generally like this. We have to kill a mob and do certain quests around the map, and they all have a vendor that you can go and interact with. These are all very repeatable and they're all very well done. Along with the world bosses such as the Scorpion up here, there are quite a few of these around the map that drop unique items that you have to go and do. Another example of that would be down here in the Elysian Wilds, the zone is called, that you have to fight enemies down here or bosses that will also drop unique artifacts. You can also get Transmog in this game, so whatever gear you pick up, you can come over here to this vendor and you can change whatever weapon skin you want. It will cost a Transmog token. As you can see, I currently have 15. These are relatively difficult to get, so as a new player, you won't be able to get these right off the bat, but you can earn these by just doing in-games, no cash shop needed. So if you want to customize your character in any which way, as you can see, there is a plethora of skins that you can choose from once you can find them. All this stuff is farmable in the game, unless you come down here and then not available. This is all purchased from the cash shop, but there is a lot of in-game stuff that you can farm and acquire and change your skin to customize to whatever you're liking. My character here is completely transmogged to the way I like it. I think I look pretty good. On to the raids. Now, the raids in this game, there are 3 technically. You have the Hive of Gorgons, which is a 10-player raid. You then have the Worm up here, the Trial of the Devourer, which is a 20-man raid. And then you can come over here to our final raid, the Winter Rune Forge, which is a 10-man raid. These are relatively difficult, especially the Worm is the hardest content in the game right now. With needing 20 people, this has taken us 10 to 15 hours to do to beat it for our first time, so it was definitely pretty difficult to do. The Hive of Gorgon is also relatively challenging, with a few unique bosses in there that take quite a bit of effort to take down. In terms of mechanics for these bosses, they are generally fun and interactive to do, requiring DPS, healers, and tanks to generally have their own role in doing unique things such as targeting, making sure you're not standing in the red zone, or you're dying, you have to block at the correct moment, stuff like that. So I think the bosses are really well done and they're very interactive to do, and I really did enjoy doing the raids for my very first time. You also have the Soul Trial. These are soloable content in the game, so you don't need anyone else to do these but yourself. And there's a bunch of these, once again, scattered along the map that you can just do to get some certain gear if you want, stuff like that. You can also do chest runs or elite chest runs. These are very simple. You X up in the chat in the map here, and you will run around and gather a bunch of items from loot chests in certain areas of the map. These chests have a chance to drop nice gear, currency that you can then use to buy things in Aeternum. These are completely optional, by the way. If you don't want to do these, you don't have to. It's just that if you want to have something extra to do, or if you just like running around with the boys, this is another task that you can definitely do. In terms of PvP, there are 3 major ways to PvP in this game. Oh, technically 4. You can do arenas, OPRs, or you can do races, where races are you just running around the map and fighting people in terms of trying to declare war on a certain territory. Once you are done the race, then you can declare war. Wars are 50v50, which you are then able to clash. Now, in order to get into war, you do need to generally be in a company for this. You know, look around, beg basically to get into these warring companies. They are relatively competitive, so that's something that interests you. That is like kind of New World's rank system in this game, since there is no rank game mode. War is the closest thing I would say New World has to a rank mode, because that is taken relatively seriously by a lot of guilds, because they will be doing stuff like VOD reviews. So if you're interested in that, then I definitely recommend looking for a warring guild. Now, there is a free-for-all PvP zone. As you can see in this blue area, everyone who enters this zone will be flagged, and no matter what faction or company you are in, you are forced to fight each other. There is no teaming within this zone. This zone has access to special resources and double the amount of gatherables, basically. So if you are interested in some open world PvP, this is probably the best place to go, since you can pick up items here called Cursed Doubloons, which are relatively valuable, and you can take these to a shop and buy really good gear early on. It's probably the best way in the game to get good early game gear. We also do have fishing in this game, if you are wondering. you just cast the line, you fish anywhere, but you didn't want to look for hotspots on the map. Now, there is housing in this game. As you can see, this is my house I currently have. I think it looks pretty good, guys. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below, but I think my house is looking very good. I even have a pet turkey here, looking absolutely fabulous. But the housing in this game is pretty nice. You can decorate it as much as you want. There's a lot of different decorations you can get, and some of the decorations are very expensive because they can be extremely rare. And there's always a house hunter out there that wants the top of the line decorations. You're allowed 3 houses per character, and each house can differ in size, and each town also has, a variety of houses. You're only allowed, once again, 3 houses per character. Amount of different furnishing and stuff you can acquire is very nice through different means: PvPing, PvEing, dungeon raiding, elite chest runs. In conclusion, I think New World is a great MMO for those who want to play solo and they just want to have a chill leveling experience where you can do a lot of the content by yourself. Now, there is a lot of group content towards the end game of New World, but it's generally not required unless you want to do stuff like dungeons and raids. PvP, once again, is very solo friendly unless you want to do wars, which is the competitive side of New World once again. If you want to have a very serious MMO that's very competitive or seriously taken, New World is probably not the game for you. But if you want to chill, fun, relax MMO where you can just chill after work, log on for 30 minutes to an hour, have a nice solo time, then I feel like New World is definitely a good MMO to try out. The solo content, the ease of getting into, everything is very well done, and I highly recommend picking it up if you haven't tried it before, or if you tried it at launch and you haven't tried it since the launch of New World back in 2021, as it has improved a lot of the systems. And with that, I hope you guys all have a great day. Huge shout out to my Twitch members. Let me also know what you guys think about New World in the current year of 2025. Do you recommend playing it yourself? Have you tried it? Let me know if you want to try it out. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Huge shout out to my YouTube channel members and my Twitch subscribers. You guys can become one as well. I would really appreciate that. And with that, hope you guys all have a fantastic day.